Good day, everyone. Composer99 here, and welcome back to Axis Empire's Totaler Krieg. In this video, we're continuing our Totaler Krieg game here with Winter 1943-1944, as Total War continues. No strategic hexes have changed hands since the previous season, so our victory count is unchanged. We'll carry on with the Axis seasonal phase. The Axis has to discard Operation Typhoon. And we'll just go ahead and discard all these other cards while we're at it. They will reveal their new current card, Mobilization Limits. During the option cards segment, they have some units to add to their force pool. These 022 infantry. They have to pick a new pending card, which we know is going to be Spear Appointed Minister. And then they have seasonal replacements. 4 infantry steps. And then they have a very unforgiving political event, as we will soon see. Let's take care of our seasonal replacements first, though. So where are we going to put those? I guess we will shove them there. And I think we want this unit to combine with the mountain step onto its multinational two-step side. And an Italian for our minor steps. Though we do actually want to break this unit down. We're considering breaking this unit down and sending it back to Italy. And for that, we need to have an Italian step in the force pool to break it down. So I think we'll actually... No, we can't do that. We only get one minor country step and one Italian step. So if we don't build an Italian, we don't build an Italian. So we won't. So that's it for minor country replacements. We do have, as we saw, 4 German replacement steps. I think we're okay for replacements to send to Norway. That's going to require very significant Western commitment to take down. We're probably okay in France for now. So the question is, do we need to send more units to the Balkans and Africa, or to the Eastern Front? Well, I think we certainly need to send more units to the Eastern Front. We're going to go ahead and put 3 infantry steps on the Eastern Front out of our 4. And then we do have to make a start at defending Italy, or having Germans defending Italy. I think we're okay with our forces in Africa, although it would be nice to have, as we've said, a multi-step unit to be in this hex or this hex to help keep the Western allies from encircling somewhere and getting a really good attack on it, or even getting back in and taking a pot shot directly at our HQ. So in that case, maybe we'll plan to send a German unit to Africa and eventually send some more. So let's go ahead and put a unit there. And ultimately, the longer we're fighting the Western faction in Africa, the less time they have maybe to invade Italy. So let's go ahead and do that. That will be our replacements. It is now time for political events. As we can see, this is a very unforgiving event. If we didn't have any political die roll modifiers, there would be a chance we could get the Volkssturm political event, which I know I have slightly mispronounced. With our die roll modifier, of course, it is not possible to get that event. The Volkssturm event is the Axis faction may immediately receive 1 German 022 VG infantry unit or 1 German colonial unit and place it as a replacement. Well, That would be nice, but we can't get it. Failure supply axis is also impossible because of the Dyrel modifier. So the possible set of results we can get are mandated offensive, ally support resistance, Germany supports nationalists, and a 1 in 2 chance, a 1/2 chance of failure command. If it weren't for losing a support unit, failure command probably wouldn't be the worst thing. We don't actually have a lot of running away that we want to do. We actually still want to kind of attack. So that would be okay. All the same, we're probably hoping for Germany supports nationalists, even though there's only a 1 in 6 chance of it. Let's go ahead and roll our political event. There's a +2 Dyrel modifier. 4 becomes 6. Failure command. Well, that is unfortunate. The Axis faction must select one of the allied factions. That faction places the appropriate Axis failure marker in any hex on the map. After placing the marker, that allied faction may take one Axis support unit and put it in the delay box. I think we'll pick the Western faction just because we're not really fighting them, and supposing they put the failure marker in a hex involving one of their theaters of war, it really wouldn't be too much of a problem. But to be honest, the Western faction is probably going to help the Soviets out here. So let's remind ourselves, what are the effects of a failure marker? We saw this some time ago when we played Operation Felix, but it's been a while, so let's just reiterate what the implications are here. Failure rules apply in the hex containing a failure marker and all hexes within a 5-hex range. So let's get the failure marker at least on the map. We know it is Axis failure, and we'll put the marker range out. So that entire grayed out zone is failure affected. A failure affected support unit or airdrop marker cannot be placed in a failure hex. A failure support unit cannot contest the attempted placement of an enemy support unit in a failure hex. If failure command is in effect, a failure affected ground unit cannot move out of a failure hex containing an enemy zone of control. In combat, a failure-affected ground unit cannot conduct an airdrop, beachhead landing, advance after combat, or exploitation into a failure hex. The marker will be removed during the Axis faction's marker segment. So where do we want to place the failure marker? Well, I think the most obvious place for it is somewhere around here, where it basically encompasses every part of the Eastern Front where the Germans might want to attack. And I think that's going to do quite nicely. Next, the Western faction gets to remove an Axis support unit. Obviously, the Soviets would much prefer that the Western faction removes an air force. But the Western faction might ask themselves, is that really what we want to do here? Maybe we want to remove a different unit. Since the Western faction has the ability to contest subfleets, and there's nothing in particular that the Western faction needs to do that the surface fleet can contest, I'm not actually sure that they want to do anything other than remove an air force. And the reason that might matter is because the Germans only have a 1 air force advantage over the Soviets right now. So if the Germans want to place an air force, they're only going to have 1 air force to place. If the Western faction places one in the delay box now due to the failure, the Axis loses their air superiority, and they won't be able to apply an air force to an attack anywhere this turn. I think it's quite likely that this is going to eliminate the possibility of the Axis getting a decent attack on Hex 3209. I did a little thinking about it in between filming, and it looked like they could have gotten a base 6-1 attack on that hex with not an extraordinary amount of commitment. And with an air force, they could have got a 9-1 attack. Now that the air force is probably out of the question, and they can't move these units here out of the ZOC of these units in order to open that hex up for other units, that kind of attack is now looking out of reach. And with the effect of weather reducing the DR range by 1 and transforming DR1 results into exchange results, that may make a land combat on this turn out of reach for the Germans. That's not unusual. Let's carry on with the turn. And what are the Western faction going to remove, support unit-wise? I guess we'll throw the Soviets a bone and remove an air force. So where does that leave the Axis faction during the support segment? Is there any attack they can get anywhere useful? They can get 5-1 on Odessa. Then there will be 2 shifts against them and a shift in their favor, making it 3-1, with a 50-50 shot of an exchange result, meaning at least 1 German step loss because there's an HQ and they can't retreat. Possibly 2. Sorry, there's a 2/3 chance of an exchange result here because that DR1 will also turn into exchange. Excuse me, a 5 in 6 chance of an exchange result. So it's really not very good on the 3-1 column in this weather. The Soviets probably wouldn't care, but the Germans might. So what are they going to do? Well, during the sports segment, this unit has to go back to base. That unit technically has to go back to base, and we'll send it back to base. To be honest, both of those units were going to stay exactly where they were, so we probably could have just left them there. So I think we won't bother with support units. Then the question might be, do we want to bother using our subfleets on the Western faction? Finally. If the Western faction isn't trying to do anything, there's probably not much point. On the other hand, we can't use our subfleets to contest Western units, so I think we will go ahead and do that. Maybe we use the subfleets to try and blockade the North Sea just to make it inconvenient for the Western faction. Let's send a subfleet here, and the Western faction will contest it. And we'll send an air subfleet to the strategic warfare box, which I think, again, the Western faction will contest. And then as long as we don't roll a 6 on our naval delay rolls, it'll be fine. So we're going to have to hope we don't get a failure next time, or next turn. But once again, it's pretty likely, right? It's half of the results are failure command. So there's a very good chance the Axis will not make any kind of progress this season. Anyway, that's the support segment. Next come up is the organization segment. I don't think we have any organizing to do at the moment, so let's carry on with operational movement. We'll go ahead and ship this unit here to Memel. Those units will go there. I shouldn't say those units, that unit. half, 1, half, 2, 3. If that unit goes here, and this unit goes here, and we'll send that unit there, just so it's a little closer to clear terrain. We almost have at least something akin to a defensive line. Admittedly, we're not terribly concerned about the Soviets attacking right now, but you never know. They might. I think that'll have to do for now. We'll leave it at that. Oh, we do have this. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. And that is operational movement. No combat. During the marker segment, we remove the failure marker. And now we have reserve movement. Half, 1, half, because Baltic States is a conquered country. And then they actually have to stop there. At least in order... Oh, no. Nope. That's Eastern Poland, which is still a conquered country. So that is half, 1, half, 2. 1, 2, 3. Or, well, it'll have been half. That's fine. Those units will go there. Maybe we should do that. And again, we're probably not too worried about them attacking. Well, let's do that. I think we're not really concerned about an attack on Kiev right now. And that is it for the Axis faction turn, except for this unit, half, 1, half, 2, half. And they're ready to shuttle overseas. Next turn. That brings us to the Western faction. The Western faction reveals Arcadia Conference. First things up, apply Pacific Commitment. And, because Pacific Total War currently applies to the Western faction, there is a chance that something is going to happen. If the Pacific War status of the Allied faction performing this event is Limited War or Total War, roll 1 die, no die roll modifiers. Let's go ahead and roll the die. Pacific Commitment. A 6. The Allied faction may select one friendly support unit from the Pacific holding box and place it in the delay box. That is a relief. If we had rolled a 1, 2, or 3 on the die, we would have had to send one of our precious support units into the Pacific holding box, which would have been a big pain in the butt. Next up, we pick a pending card, which we already know is going to be Sledgehammer. We have replacements, 1 British infantry and 1 armor step. Alright, and I guess we're going to throw down one of these and an armor. We have a political event. Roll on conference table. again, +2 Darwin modifier. 4 becomes 6. Military aid. We have forgotten our minor country replacements, although I don't think we have any. No, we don't have any. As a result of military aid, we can apply delay reduction, we can place a minor country step, or we can place a colonial step. We don't have any colonial steps to place or minor country steps, so the only thing we can do is apply delay reduction. Is there any delay reduction we can apply? We can move one of these surface fleets over, so let's go ahead and do that. All right. That's it for the political event. I think we would have much rather had neutrals pressured or apply allies support resistance under the circumstances, but, well, what are we going to do? Now it's the support segment. This goes home. Do we have any other convoys out? No. What are we going to do for support? Do we bother sending any more units to Norway? Probably not. I think that would be a waste of time. Maybe what we do now is at least have an army, quote-unquote, in being, ready to create a multi-step army if we want to, or think we can get away with a snappy little invasion in northwestern Europe. So we'll just stack some units together. I don't think there's any point sending out convoys anywhere in particular. I suppose we could throw a couple more units into Sardinia over the course of the turn. Although, what would we do with them if we did? Maybe Malta's a better pick. Either way, I think we want to start having the potential to invade with beachheads and multi-step units anywhere along the Italian coast where it meets the Western Mediterranean to start making the axis honest here. So both Sardinia and Malta seem like pretty good picks. Let's go ahead and place convoys there. And that's that for that. During the organization segment, we have no organization, I don't think. So we will go ahead with operational movement. This unit will go ahead and shuffle over to, we'll say, Malta. And that's it. Actually, that's not it. Let's move that unit there. And that's fine. Marker segment, those go back to their supply box, the convoy boxes, and then during reserve movement, we'll just go ahead and send this to Malta as well. And that's it. Next up will be the Soviet faction. We don't have any conditional events. Soviet faction, they're going to reveal their new current card, Siberian Reserves Released. Remove card 26A, Stalin Orders Attack. Apply Pacific Commitment. Well, we don't have to, do we? And then we add some units to the force pool. We can get rid of those. And we'll actually just go ahead and get rid of those. Oh no, we don't. We did technically play those cards. So that means if we were to ever conquer Finland, the Finnish frontier will be ceded. I shouldn't say conquer. If we ever liberate Finland, the Finnish frontier will be ceded to Russia. Not that that will make a particular difference at that point in the game. Those go to the force pool. Let's organize our new shock armies. So these shock armies are nice. They're not very good at defense, as you can see. On their two-step side, they're very good for attacking, still not good at defending. 5-2-2. But of course, one of the great things about them is that they have no delay stripe. So if they get destroyed, they just keep coming back right away, pretty much. At least every season. So where are we going to put them? I think we can put them right there. We also have this unit, which we will put here for now, and we'll move it as we get some more of our other cool armor units. Well, let's put it there for now, actually. Yeah, that's fine. So that's good because we have a lot of infantry steps we're getting as replacements, and having a bunch of extra units to be able to throw down is nice. So that's the end of the option card segment, except for picking a new pending card, which we already know is Red Army Reforms. That brings us to replacements. Russia, 2 tank and 18 infantry steps. So, where are we putting all these nice units? Is there somewhere we can attack with this unit buildup? That might be worth asking. There might be. We might get an attack in Belarusia with all of our fancy shock armies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 out of 18. And then 13, 14, 15. Maybe we better throw these down here, actually. We, do need to actually defend this southern flank against German attack. And then we have 2 armor steps. One here. And one here, which isn't going to do much good until we combine it with something else at some point. That is the end of Soviet replacements. They have support segment. I don't think they have any. They only have 1 air force to place, and the Germans can contest it, so there's not much point. We can leave it for the Germans to spend air forces. That brings us to combination. So we are going to go ahead and combine this into an HQ and this into an HQ. And this into a unit. And we'll do a little bit of shock army combination now. Actually, if we do that unit, it might not reach the front in time. All right. Well, that's good for that. That brings us to operational movement. 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll shuttle a unit there for now. Half 1, half 2, half 3. 1, 2. We will advance out of Smolensk. 1, 2. Half 1, half 2. Half 1, half 2. Half 1, half 2. Half 1, half 2, half 3. Half 1, half 2, half. That can stay back there for now. And actually, that unit will not go there. Let's leave it back there for now, and it can go there during operational movement. And I think that's it for operational movement. Could move these units out of Kharkov. That might be what we'll do next turn, so that we can put seasonal replacements in Kharkov. Although we do have Lend-Lease rolls, so we'll go ahead and do that. Next up will be reserve movement. We have no combat, I don't think. 1, 2, half, 1, half. That's fine there. That unit goes there. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Half, and then that. And I think that will do nicely. And that will end the Soviet turn. We have delay rolls. 4 becomes 2. Just in time for the spring thaw. Or not the spring thaw. The thaw is the muddy weather, but the good spring weather. Top to bottom, a 1 and a 6. That is unfortunate for the 6. So the 6, because it's the naval delay roll, we roll again. And add whatever we roll to our delay result. And then we apply the modifier for the axis tide. So 6 plus 3 is 9, becomes 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that submarine is arriving all the way back in next autumn. So as far as the Western faction was concerned, that is a definite win, because there's no way any of their RAF units can roll that badly. Top to bottom, 6 and 2. Although they certainly tried, didn't they? That's actually only arriving a turn earlier. 1, 2. And that brings us to the next turn. These units go there, back to the force pools. Make sure our force pools are still organized. Yep. That's good, except we have 8th Army. Now present. And those are all good to go. That brings us back to Axis faction turn. They have their political event. Five becomes 6. Failure command Axis. Again. I think in a historical game, the Germans would have a +1 DRM at this point, so they, having done a little bit better by extending limited war, has actually made their war economy all the creakier, and therefore their command and control. So, another failure marker, which once again I think the Western faction will be nice and place it here, where it's the most effective. That's probably fine. With all these air forces, if the Germans really want to place an air force, they're going to be able to, now that they have more than the Soviets have to contest them with. So now maybe the Western faction doesn't care about that, and they are going to go ahead and put the Regia Marina into the delay box. Because if they get a bad delay roll, maybe that is going to open up opportunities for the Western faction to do something in and around Italy while there still aren't Germans there. That's political events. The Axis faction has support. That unit goes back to base. This unit is going to stay put, and they'll go ahead and throw the scratch convoy down. During organization, this unit is going to organize into 21st Army. And this unit is going to organize into 20th Army. And that is it for organization. Next up, operational movement. That goes there. This HQ is going to need to go here in order to cover the entire front. I guess they're not really have to be concerned about an attack down here just yet. They'll go there. The failure command is once again really messing up a potential German attack here, right? They can't place air forces, so what are they going to do? So operational movement, this unit's going to shuttle over here. We forgot to do breakdowns. You know what, we'll just go ahead and do that. We did, in fact, want to do a breakdown there. What are we going to do with those Italians? It might make sense, actually, to send them down here still to help out. So one has to stay in Damascus to keep Syria under the Axis thumb until we get a Greek in to replace them, but the other one can go half, one, half, two. And that will be it for now. I think that's it for operational movement. It is. That's going to get removed during the mark segment with no combat. Reserve movement. I don't think we have any reserve movement on the eastern front. Half one, half two, and oh, we actually can't do that because those are dependents. They are not conquered countries, so there's no benefit. So it's just straight 1, 2, and 1. And that is it. That's the Axis turn. Next up, Western faction turn. They have their political event. 2 becomes 4. That's conflicting plans, no result, isn't it? Yes, it is. Nothing happens. During the support segment, these units return to base. And what are they going to do? Send a couple units to Sardinia, maybe? They are running short on units that they might actually want to send to Sardinia. So maybe not right now. Return units home from Norway? That's probably fine. We won't send anything out right now. What we are going to do, however, is organize 8th Army. That's combination. No breakdowns. Get a couple more British units. That actually has to go to the delay box. We only have one spare armor type step here for loss taking, so we might want to get another one down there for when we go on the offensive. Now that we have these units, maybe it's time to march out of the East Africa box. Let's see here. If an allied ground unit starts a movement phase in the East Africa box, it may exit that box to an adjacent land hex. This placement costs 1 MP. So it's 1 movement point to move into the southern map edge from the East Africa box. So if we do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Those units can go there for now. Maybe there, just in case. That's looking fine. And that will do nicely. Pretty sure the Germans don't have a good attack anywhere. Or Axis, I should say, since there was a significant Italian presence there. At the same time, it's not looking like there's a very great attack on the part of the British here. Although maybe. They're going to have... Supposing they attacked now, although they can't, because they didn't deploy support units properly, they'd have 8, 10, 17, 19 factors attacking 11, which is 19 to 11 might be 3 to 2. Yeah, 3 to 2 becomes 1 to 1, becomes 1 to 2 with the HQ in city. Then there'd be a friendly HQ shift, and that's it at the moment. In order to make that at all a feasible attack, the Western faction is going to need a lot of support units and a blitz marker. They're now regretting contesting one of those submarines. I think that's it for operational movement. No combat, obviously. No reserve movement. And that will do. On to the Soviet faction turn. They have no political event, so they have to ask themselves, do they have an attack? During the support segment, they do have a blitz marker they can place, thanks to their card. They could attempt to place an air force, although with the German air superiority, there's probably not much point. Do they have an attack anywhere? Can we get a decent attack on this hex? They can get 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15 factors attacking 8. So not quite 2 to 1. If we attack one of these hexes, there'll be 10 factors defending, but we can actually get some Siberians involved. With those two, that would be 10 factors, 15. Where's the other one? There we go, 20. That's 4 out of 6 possible steps, so we could get 23, 26, 27, 28, 29 factors attacking 10. Not quite 3 to 1. So it'd be 2 to 1, becomes 3 to 2 with the German HQ, becomes 2 to 1 with the Soviet HQ, 3 to 1 with a blitz attack, and that's the best we can do. So there's a 5 and 6 chance of an exchange where we're losing a Soviet tank step to a German infantry, and a 1 in 3 chance that we're losing 2 steps. That doesn't feel particularly good, even by Russian standards. Maybe if we could get to the next level on our, or the next odds table, that might be okay. We do have an airdrop marker, actually. That can get us into the 4 to 1 marker. Because of the paratroopers. So now we have 2 DR1 results and 4 exchange results. So 2 chance of an exchange. A 1 in 6 chance of 1 German step loss with no Soviet losses. A 1 in 6 chance of 2 German step losses, no Soviet losses. A 1 in 3 chance of 2 Soviet losses to 1 German loss. That's actually 2 German losses, because it'll become an exchange. This is also 2 German losses, actually, excuse me. Assuming they have the HQ taking part, which they will. So that's not too bad, actually. That could be bloody, but effective. You know, I think we're going to go ahead and do it. And we might even not worry about using the airborne unit until the summer. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, we won't be able to use the airborne unit during the summer because we aren't playing anything that gets us blitz markers. That's fine. Anyway, we'll go ahead and place a blitz marker. And we'll do some organization. I think that's it for organizing, isn't it? Operational movement. Now, we forgot about Lend-Lease last turn, didn't we? Let's go ahead and roll that quickly before we go ahead and do operational movement. We did talk about Lend-Lease. It's so easy to overlook for some reason, I find. Lend-Lease. So this is for November, December. Oh, 1. 1 tank step and delay reduction. Well, I guess we'll delay reduce that. Most of those infantry would already be on the map, so if we really wanted, we could play them. But I think we'll place the tank step because if we're taking tank step losses, we want to be able to replace them nice and easy. So that is that for Lend-Lease for last turn. Operational movement for this turn. We have 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, looks like we have forgotten some organizing. There we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'll go there. And which flank should we hang back on here? That can go there. Those units should probably watch that flank. And that will go here. We probably should leave a retreat path for later if the Germans fight back. Alright, that'll do nicely. We have a little bit of operational movement here. Now we have a little coverage in Crimea to make things hard for the Axis there. Hope to kind of do the same in the Kharkov-Rostov sector as well. We want another HQ for that maybe, although we are currently out of HQs. Not for long though. We've got one coming in the spring. That's operational movement. So now we have our attack. We have 13, 16. Sorry, 13 and 13 is 26, 29 factors attacking 10. If they didn't use the HQ, what happens? It would become a base 5-1, becoming a 6-1 with armor and a 9-1 with HQ. So it'd be a 9-1 attack. So I think they have to commit the HQ, which puts them in 2-1 column. 3-2 with the HQ, 2-1 with the Soviet HQ, 3-1 with Soviet armor. So it's a 3-1 versus Hex 407 Borisov. A 1. DR2 becomes DR1. So the Germans take a step loss. Next step, during regular combat, with the same factors, 29, now they are attacking 8 factors. So it's natively 3-1 becomes 2-1, back to 3-1. So 3-1 versus, and a roll, a 3. That's DR1 becomes EX. I think this is one of the first times we've gotten an EX result in a combat. So let's go ahead and remind ourselves what that does. Exchange. All attacking ground units must retreat 1 hex, or one of the attacking ground units must take a step loss. If retreat is possible, the attacker chooses which to do. Retreat is not possible because an HQ participated in the combat. So the Russians must take a step loss. And because tanks participated in the combat, one of those step losses must be a tank. They actually didn't need these tanks to take part in the regular combat segment, but I counted up the factors with them, so I should include them. We'll lose the one further away from the southern front. If the attacker retreats, the defender does nothing. If the attacker takes the step loss, then all ground units in the defending hex must retreat 1 hex, or one of the defending ground units must take a step loss. So now, one of these 2 units has to take a step loss. If the second army takes a step loss, it's going to be removed from the board, put in the delay box, and a 1-step unit placed in its place. So I think they're going to take the step loss on Army Group Center. Once again, because the HQ took part, the defenders can't retreat. So very effective turn for the Soviets, inflicting 2 German step losses at the cost of 1, admittedly, tank step, but so what? They can make more. That brings us to reserve movement. During the mark segment, that's going to get removed. Reserve movement. We don't have any in the south. I guess that unit can shuffle forward a little bit. Half 1, half 2, half 3 into Smolensk. We can reform up the armor unit there eventually. Maybe the other one will shuffle near the south, maybe, to replace losses. Half 1, half 2, half. And can stay there for now. That's probably fine. And that is it for reserve movement. Yeah, sure. Conditional events, we have Lend-Lease. A 2. 1 infantry step delay reduction. I think we would have rather rolled a little higher for the 2 steps. Delay reduction doesn't get us anything right now. Nothing doing. Where are we putting that infantry step? We'll go ahead and put it in Sevastopol for forming up units later in the spring. Alright, that's the end of the Soviet faction turn, and the end of the winter season. Just about, that is. We have some delay rolls. Four becomes 2. Well, that's not as good as the Western faction was maybe hoping for, but it's not nothing. And six. Not great, but I think they're probably fine. So now we have a few things happening here. Let's just clean up our force pools, and then we will look at what's happening with U.S. entry, because it is now about to happen. All right, U.S. entry. The U.S. entry marker. Place this marker as directed when total war goes into effect on a map. When removed from the turn track, end any policy or truce that applies to the United States. So that's going to get removed. And isolationism is over. The United States posture is now war. That means the Western faction is now going to be able to select Arsenal of Democracy and get all of its U.S. steps, which means that all of its subsequent card plays, they're going to be able to place U.S. steps on the map. Pretty good. And very important. Next up, increase USCL. Each time this marker is removed from the turn track, advance the USCL marker 1 box on the USCL track, then place the increase USCL marker 4 seasonal turns, i.e. 1 year, ahead on the turn track. The USCL marker stops advancing once it reaches the USCL 4 box. So, increase USCL marker, we'll go ahead and advance it right now because we have it open, and then we are going to move this ahead on the box. So now, going forward, there is a -1 political diral modifier, partially offsetting the diral modifier for axis tide. There is an axis delay diral modifier of +1, partially offsetting the delay modifier for axis tide. And there is a western delay modifier, permanently because there's no offset. So that can go here, and this will become, no, not that one. Where are we here? There we go. All right, so we are now aware that the net axis delay roll modifier is -1. So is the net western delay roll modifier. And as we can see, as the years go by, US commitment level increases and the impacts become increasingly potent. So that is it for the winter 43-44 season. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe. We'll hope to see you next time.